Welcome to the Graveyard Shift. In this episode, we talk about raising children and which societal norms of today are harming them. Thanks for listening. The difference in generational parenting is a wide gap, but each generation believes they're doing better than the last, and in ways they are. So they'll use things like, well, sure, I yelled at you, but my mom would have hit me. Their mom is, well, sure, I hit you. My mom would have beat the hell out of me. You know, like it's always in steps, and it's breaking generational traumas piece by piece. But where's the peak at? You know, like is the Gen Z type gentle parenting the peak? I mean, because if you're taking out all the generational traumas even you endured, I mean, have we reached the peak? Is that it?
No. Hard no, actually. I feel like as we as people grow and evolve, we also need to understand that the way we teach our kids needs to evolve with it. We've seen how technology has affected our children. That's one of the biggest things I've witnessed, especially working with children as long as I have. And as time has gone by, you know, parents have relied less on themselves and more on the resources they have around them. And those resources used to be other people, you know, and now it's become technology. And daycare used to just be, I'm dropping off my kid here, just keep them alive until I get back and care for them like I would care for them until I get back. But now, especially where I worked at, there were whole lesson plans set out for the entire week at a time, to the point where it was like another form of school. And I would debate that it was more effective than schools today, because I'm teaching these kids ways to, you know, not only sustain for themselves, but interact with other people around them effectively. And we had a very harsh no phone policy, no electronics. Until they reached a certain age, we'd kind of implement electronics into our lessons and what we did, because I worked with school agers all the way down to infants. Like, I'd worked with all ages while I was there. And there were certain things I agreed with and certain things I didn't. And that's why my point is hard no, because what they've tried to do in that space is make how they're teaching absolute instead of a starting point. And that's how schools have been for a very long time, are absolute. This is what you're going to learn. This is what you need to learn. And I feel like as time goes on, daycare will simply be school before school, if that makes sense. That's what I see. I can see it a mile away, or a mile before we get there. That's where we're headed, and I don't agree with that. I don't like how it's basically just being turned into schooling, because I feel like schooling is education on subjects, not life, and we're teaching them life as subjects. And that can be helpful, but it can also be harmful. A good example is one of the children that we had there, they were neglected horribly at home, to a point where we became their caretaker. Like, and I'm not exaggerating this in any way. Like we genuinely were their caretaker, and when they went home, they weren't being cared for. And I feel like that's kind of the parents' mindset being, when I take them to daycare, they're gonna learn and they're gonna grow, so it's not on me anymore. That mindset. And I've seen it throughout so many parents while I was working there. And I feel like that's because of how we were teaching those kids at the daycare. Because they're seeing how much of a great job we're doing helping develop their kids, that they're leaving it all to us to do that. So I guess I'll put it more this way. I feel like it should be less implemented, not it's hard to put it to words without it sounding harsh. And I don't want it to be harsh, because I'm very understanding of parents as well. I know it's not easy to raise kids, but we have to always remember that they are the parents, not us. And I don't want to feel like I'm being relied on to a point of no return. And whenever I see a child's parent get there to pick up their kid and they're in dismay, they don't want to leave, that it just says a lot to me.
I mean, it's also the age of plopping your kid down in front of an iPad, giving them Miss Rachel, Coco Melon, Bluey, YouTube access, mobile game access, and then just going to do something else.
Yeah.
And letting your tablet parent your kid.
It kind of removes the child from society in a way, and it just like engulfs them in the social media world or the internet world. And we're seeing the effect it's having as they grow up. Like, they can't even talk to a stranger to order food. Like, I've seen 15-year-old teenagers go up with their parents to order food, and they can't even order the food for themselves. And I couldn't imagine that. My mom literally would look at me and be like, "What do you want?" And then she'd say, "All right, go order it. You know, like, go order it. Order it for yourself." And I would. And I didn't even see like yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking talking to a stranger, but at the end of the day, like, that's a good interaction to have. It's showing that you can interact with other people. And I feel like the kids that grew up on that iPad, they're severely lacking in social ability.
Would you say spankings are a form of physical abuse?
Yeah, I feel like there's levels to it, but I never got a spanking and thought this was teaching me something. In fact, it usually was just instilling fear into me that whatever I did was bad, and if I do this thing, I will be hurt. Not, I shouldn't do this thing, period. It was more the feeling of, if I do this thing, there are harsh consequences to that. And I feel like those are two different things. You know, like understanding something and being in fear of something.
Yeah, I mean, you can get the idea of, I shouldn't be doing this, without having to strike your child.
Yeah. And also getting physical with your child can be one thing. Like, say your child's running up to a stove, right? And it's hot. Like, yeah, I'm gonna run up and I'm gonna grab them. Like, oh my gosh, grab them, take them away. But I'm not going to follow that up with spanking them. I don't know. Like, that's not, I feel like that's not the answer, you know, when you are getting physical with that child, or when the child comes to you with things that they feel on their heart and you punish them for it. Wouldn't that just make them not come to you with those things? Because like that happened to me for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you teach a kid when you make them scared of you, is that they can't trust you. When they get older, they know they can't trust you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen plenty of parenting styles. I mean, I've been working in childcare since I was 16, and that's aside from people in my family, seeing how they act with their kids. I've seen so many different types of parenting styles. And I know some people are going to look at us and say, oh, well, you haven't had a kid yet. You don't understand. I don't need to have a kid to know that you don't have to physically abuse them, smack them, spank them.
Yeah.
You know, I also don't need to have a kid to know you shouldn't emotionally and verbally abuse them, manipulate them, yell at them, intimidate them. I don't need to have a kid to understand basic things like that, but that's kind of the baseline. Like, I feel like that's the minimum.
Yeah.
Right? I would feel like that should be the minimum, but you'd be surprised how controversial just saying that is.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like that's just forms of control, like forms of controlling your child instead of teaching them and guiding them. Because I feel like that's what our job as parents and leaders is to guide them and teach them, you know, right from wrong, or teach them good morals or what is what. Like, simply doing that is what I feel parenting should be. And whenever it becomes a control factor, that's when it gets murky for me.
I mean, that's why kids that are turning into adults nowadays are starting to see, like, maybe I don't have to stick around. Maybe I got abused my entire life and I can take space from my parent that abused me, or the family member that made me uncomfortable the entire time. Now that I'm an adult and I can take space, it is okay to do that. It is okay for somebody that has been toxic in your life to be removed from your life, even if temporarily, until they change. I mean, until they want to change and be different, until they've gotten a little more progressive in how they think in terms of, you know, acknowledging your mental health, acknowledging things that you went through as a child, and as a parent being able to hear, you did this and it made me feel this way as a kid. Yeah. Being able to acknowledge stuff like that and accept that, have those conversations with your child, it builds such a solid foundation. But, you know,
yeah, your child,
it's a hard ask.
Exactly, it's a hard ask. Like, your child, they should be able to trust you with everything they have to offer you and the world. Like, if they can't trust you, the parent, the one that bared them and raised them, it's probably not going to bode well for them with other people. They're already going to have that preconceived notion of distrust in others without even taking the time to evaluate who they are as a person. Because you can also be deceived in trust, you know? So if someone shows you they can trust you just in order to take advantage of you, then they're going off of what they see, not what they hear or how they actually feel about said person.
Right. Like some people correlate teaching your kids consent, and this part's mind-blowing to me. Teaching your kids consent is having a sexual conversation with them. And that is crazy. Trying to tell your kids that I want to teach them consent from a young age, to say I want a physical interaction to I don't, and it's as simple as a hug from a family member. If your family member wants a hug and your kid just says no, that should be okay. It is up to that child if they want to be hugged, if they want a physical interaction. But hearing that, for some people, teaching kids about consent automatically equals sexual conversation. I mean, it's genuinely clear which type of group that is. It's the group that voted for a pedophile in office.
Sir.
And so it's those types of people who also think that, like, a trans person reading to your kid is inherently indoctrinating them to be trans when they grow up, and drag queens meeting kids is a inherently sexual experience because drag queens dress in a way that's, I guess, I think provocative is the best word. And I mean, that's like in certain stages and certain shows, but no, it's still okay if a drag queen reads to your child. They're not going to grow up to think, remember that one time I saw this person wear a dress? I'm going to wear a dress. And that is the only logic I am basing it off of. That's what those people think.
Yeah. Which is like, that's... It's dumb. It's dumb to think that way. And I feel like most of the people who do feel that way, it's mostly because they feel entitled to how they feel, and they try and project it on to their children. They think however they feel about something, their children should feel the same. And that's wrong in so many ways. Because it's like they're trying to clone themselves through their kid.
You're right. They want to take the side against talking about gender roles and gender ideology, while at the same time having a daughter they will give a toy baby to and a toy kitchen so she can practice being a mother at the age of 2. But they want to say that a drag queen reading to your child is going to make your kid a drag queen.
Yeah.
Like, who's forcing the gender roles here? Who's forcing the gender ideology?
Who's really forcing it? Like, let's be honest with ourselves, because I very rarely see the LGBTQ community force their ideology on people. Instead, they express it. Those are two different things. And when they express it, it makes those people uncomfortable. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the previous podcast, if you genuinely have hate for somebody that's gay, it's probably because you are curious about being gay and you're forcing it down. Same thing with trans hate, or seeing a man that wears a dress and hating them. It's the same thing. You're jealous of their confidence. You're jealous of what they can pull off that you can't. Which, I get it. You know, a lot of what masculinity is denying yourself simple pleasures to be a man. To drink whiskey with ice because you're a man. You can't have it with juice, flavoring, a fun straw, an umbrella,
Yeah.
You can't get that because then it's a girly drink. Why? Because it tastes good? No, because it's pink.
Yeah, trust and believe, yeah.
So now we're at grown adults talking about colors and being scared of the color pink being the color of a shirt on what a little boy's wearing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's... I don't know. It's...
Trust me, look.
It's just so baffling to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I go out and they ask me what I want to drink and I see a bunch of quote unquote masculine men staring me down, that is not about to influence what I'm ordering to drink, because I'm the one drinking it. All right, I'm ordering a tequila sunrise every single time, and I want them to put the umbrella in there because it looks cool. I love it. Does that make me less of a man? No. I don't want to taste oak wood, honey, and, lack of better words, dog poo. I don't want to taste that when I'm tasting a drink. And if I'm taking a shot, right, I'm chasing it. I don't want that taste to be left in my mouth. Like, I want to enjoy the drink. I don't want it to be miserable just because I'm a man. It makes no sense.
Right.
You know, or like when I'm wearing something, on the other hand, like if I'm wearing something and it's not masculine, quote unquote, I'm never going to understand that. Because when you go back in history, there's a lot of feminine attire men wore. So I'm trying to understand where that switched or where that flipped, you know, and the societal norm just got worse as time went on. I just need help I need help understanding that from their point of view, but I mean, I don't want to understand because I think it's stupid. My own sister, she doesn't identify as what she was born as. And I, being the accepting person, also being a person who genuinely couldn't care how you want to identify yourself, because I have that respect for you, to let you live in your own body and autonomy. I can't control that. I have no control over that. Like, I'm here for the simple purpose of what I'm here to do. So me trying to control who someone else is just, I mean, once again, I feel like it's stupid.
Right. I mean, just as easily, you could have been born with the same pair of genitals and been uncomfortable in your own skin, and you want to go buy something else. Yeah. And that is still completely okay.
Completely, yes, completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And the people who feel like there's something wrong with that, they have control issues. They're not okay in the head in some way, because they're letting an outside entity affect how they feel. And it has nothing to do with them. It doesn't concern them. It shouldn't. No, let me stop. It shouldn't concern them, but it does. A good example would be on TikTok. Say you're scrolling and you see this transgender person and you're so bothered for whatever reason. The easiest thing to do would be literally scroll again, right? But they get so bothered they have to like get in there and spread hate to that person. That's the part of it that always confuses me. Like, it's so easy to just move on. Keep going forth. They're not spreading hate to you in any way. They're not being hateful in any way. They're just expressing themselves or just being themselves. That alone bothers them. I don't.
Because they know they can't.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like,
they know that they can't be themselves. They know that there's so many simple pleasures in life that they deny themselves to hold the mask of being masculine. Like the drink topic we talked about, or genuinely just pushing down your emotions. The whole men don't cry thing. Men don't cry because they got beat if they cried. But now it's different days, and it is okay to have emotions and feelings. Denying yourself that is genuinely going to make you a worse person inside and out. And reflecting that on somebody else and saying, I can't cry, so you as a man can't either. I'm defining what a man is for you because my dad said it was weak, because my grandpa said it was weak, because my family said it was weak. And now you're just reflecting that on everybody else in society, and it's a failure if they don't reach your unspoken standard.
Yeah. They're projecting their life story and how they got shut out of those emotions on you. They feel you should be down in the dumps with them, and you shouldn't be able to express yourself like they weren't able to. And that starts a cycle, honestly, like a very vicious one.
Yeah, today's definition of masculinity is so skewed.
Scary.
Because there's people who already know that masculinity means nothing, and that you can just as easily be emotional, have feelings, have flaws, and still be loved. Because the other way around is just suppressing emotions, restricting your own actions, societally restricting other people's actions, and then it just leads to you hating them, being rude to them.
They're miserable in what they feel, and it's just a projection of themselves, which is sad. Like, it's honestly sad. Like, I wish everyone could express how they truly felt and not have to hold in all that pain, anger, sadness. You know, people love to express when they're happy because everyone wants to be happy, but not everyone wants to be sad or angry at the world. But the more you hold that in, you know, the more it's going to affect you. It's just going to bottle up, and eventually it's going to implode or explode. It's going to implode in on yourself, or you're going to explode and affect so many people around you that it's going to have so many consequences that could have been prevented. I want to know how you feel about stemming how you raise your children around your culture. Like, I want to know how you feel about that. Like, are you against it? Are you with it? Like, how do you feel?
That it exists as much as you want it to exist. So you can easily say there were genuinely clear issues in the way I was raised, and it was all in the name of our culture. But knowing that and still reflecting those same issues and problems onto your children because that's what happened to you. You know, I had it hard, so why should you have it easy? This is what would happen to me, so I don't feel bad for you. Why are you crying when you have to walk a mile to school when I had to walk 10 miles to school, uphill both ways, 10 feet of snow, like every day until I graduated college. It's like, I thought the point of having children was to give them a better life than you had.
Yes.
So why would you give them the same life you had, including the same abuses, emotional problems,
Yeah, the same suffering.
social issues? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Because I feel like, you know, how I was raised, it was very traditional. Like, I was the youngest boy, and I didn't get a lot of say in how things went around the house when parents weren't there. But I also was very intelligent, and I knew when things weren't being done correct, but I felt my voice wasn't heard enough. And the trust in my voice wasn't there until I grew and grew up and grew up, you know. And now it's actually kind of insane in hindsight. My older siblings look up to me. They come to me for advice, and it's actually insane to think about, because, you know, if that trust would have been within me earlier, you know, I can't go back in time, but I feel like, you know, things could have went differently. And I don't want my kids to ever think, oh, just because you're the younger brother, you don't get any say on how things go, or you have no power in your voice here. You are silenced. You know, I don't want to ever silence my children, no matter if they're younger or older. And it was also instilled into me to be the older brother to my younger sisters, but they taught me so much. Like, I was always open to hear what they had to say. And I feel like that's how it should be. That's how you bond and grow together. And I feel like that shouldn't be, you know, frowned upon.
Older generations just used fear, punishment, strict authority just to lead. Like parenting with fear, making your kid fear you because you are the authority. It's just crazy. It's genuinely just crazy to me. But, you know, like they were expected to be seen and not heard. You know, mental health and emotional support were a laughable topic.
Yeah.
Which just builds trauma and resentment.
I love that you said fear too, because, like, when you're basing it off of fear as they grow up, they're not going to respect you because you didn't gain that respect. You just made them fear you, you know? And when they don't fear you any longer, that respect won't be there at all. I feel like as a child, it should be a respect thing, not a fear thing.
Yeah, your kids should feel comfortable around you.
Mm-hmm.
Your kids shouldn't run to the room when you get home. Your kids shouldn't know the sound of your footsteps.
There's so much in those words you just said too. Like, it's so much behind those words. Like, the footsteps, like knowing, like, oh my God, Dad's home. You know, and you're in fear. What, like, why do you fear your protector, your source of everything, you know? It never made sense to me.
I mean, it's the era a lot of people grew up in, and that's what brings me back, is that these days, newer generations, you know, people are saying they're too soft because they gentle parent, because they don't yell, they don't hit, they don't give them harsh consequences, which again is just insane. That having respect for your kid and talking to them like a kid and treating them like a kid because they have the brain of a kid is seen as controversial.
It's insane. I feel like you can make your kid too soft, but not because you're caring for them or because you're showing them empathy and respect. I think that comes from the sense of like coddling them, not letting them experience things on their own. But that starts later in their childhood, you know, like you have to be able to give them that independence when they're ready for it.
Okay, so can you give me the difference between gentle parenting and coddling?
Okay, I'll put it this way. Gentle parenting to me is here. Actually, you know what? I'll give an example of both. So with gentle parenting, say my son gets home from school and he failed a test. I'm not gonna sit here and just hound on him and dog on him because he failed that test. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna brainstorm together. You know, what went wrong? Did you not study enough? How do you feel you could have done better? How can we grow from this failure? You know, and then we go to the coddling aspect of where they come home, they failed that test, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, it's all okay. You did nothing wrong. There's nothing you could have done better. Let's go get some ice cream. Like, not letting them take accountability in any way and just allowing them to fail in that way. You know, like if they're not gonna grow from something they did wrong, I feel like that's coddling. And there's a thin line there. I feel like it's very hard to differentiate that, especially from scenario to scenario, because I feel like there are moments that take more harsh words to understand because of the consequences, and there are times where you need to be softer. You know, like if your kid is bullying another kid, I think you need to be real harsh with the words you use, just not harsh to them. You just need to be very stern with, that is not okay. You know, you don't treat people like that. Whereas if they are walking up or climbing up the slide and they shouldn't be, you know, take them to the side and be like, hey, you could get hurt. Do you want to get hurt? They're gonna say no. All right, we'll try going down the slide and use the stairs to get back up to the top so you can be safe. You know, because that's affecting them. That bullying is affecting someone else. You know, and I feel like when you're affecting others negatively, that's when I would be more harsh with how I'm coming to them, just so they understand that you're affecting things outside of yourself.
What do you mean by more harsh?
More harsh as in, or more stern is a better word. As in like you gotta make sure those words are understood. Like, you have to make sure they truly understand where you're coming from, because I'm all for my kids learning things the hard way if it's affecting them. But when it's affecting others, I genuinely just want my kids to understand that you're affecting someone else's life or their livelihood. So I guess stern's a better word, because harsh is a very, like, that word can easily be misconstrued. So I feel like stern would be a better word for that then. Or even more direct, like being more direct with them and letting them know, hey, like I said, straight up, like, that's not okay. And if they have questions as to why, I'm going to give them that explanation, you know. And if they can't understand, I'm going to educate them. I'm going to educate them on why it's wrong. If I have to give examples, I will give examples. If I have to, you know, take them through a whole crash course on why it's wrong to bully someone, we're going to go through it until they understand. And I'm going to take more time to make sure they understand that. As in where the slide scenario, I'm just going to make sure that they understand how that can go. And if they have to learn the hard way, that's how it is. I just don't want them to learn the hard way how affecting others is very bad, if that makes sense. What's up, everybody? It's Kendell. We appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you want to find more content like this, subscribe to the DozaGaming YouTube channel or follow us on Twitch. And once again, thanks for listening.